Hi there, welcome. My name is Jason, and today what I have is a plant called Epiphyllum, and that's this plant right behind me in this pot with the big pink flowers, gorgeous flowers, fragrant and beautiful. This plant originates from Central and South America, and it makes a great house plant and outdoor plant. So I'll just go over really quick some pointers with you on this. As far as growing it, so if you're going to grow this indoors, you want to choose a brightly lit location. You just don't want a ton of direct sunlight. Morning sun is okay, but maybe even a little bit of afternoon, but you really just don't want to burn the leaf blades. So I recommend part sun, part shade indoors. As far as outdoors, same thing, part sun, part shade. You just really don't want to burn the foliage. Too much sun will do that. As far as watering, spring through fall, you want to keep this on a regular watering schedule. Maybe allow the soil to dry at about 50% in between waterings, but make sure you keep it watered. It is succulent though, so the leaves are very succulent-like, so it does retain water. It doesn't dry out that easy. It's a tough plant. It actually is an epiphyte. It grows, it mounts itself on trees under the canopies, and it feeds through decomposing debris that falls on the aerial roots that this plant puts out. So it's non-parasitic, it's just an epiphyte. So don't plant this in the ground outside in the garden. It's a plant that is used to growing above the ground. So potting soil, like a cactus succulent soil, or just your standard like indoor plant potting soil will work. It'll work for this plant. As far as the pH of the potting medium, you want it to be slightly acidic. And as what I do for that is I'll use the cactus succulent soil, and then you essentially want to use a fertilizer that is low in nitrogen, because nitrogen encourages a lot of foliar growth, and that will be in your fertilizer, but you just don't want an overabundance of it because you do want these flowers to come. And so I go out and buy a Spoma organic fertilizer for African violets, and I use that on a number of different house plants to influence the soil pH, especially for plants that want a slightly acidic pH in the soil medium. I'll influence that with the fertilizer, and it seemed to really work on this plant because I've had it for quite a while. When you get a cutting, it'll take about 3 years for the cutting to fill in the pot you put it in, and that's assuming that maybe you have a 6-inch pot for it to fill in. And once it does that, this plant actually benefits from being a little bit root bound, and that will encourage more blooms. Typically epiphyllums bloom spring to early summer. It is November right now, and this is blooming. So I don't know if it's just because there are a lot of different hybrids of this plant in the genus of Epiphyllum, and maybe this is meant to bloom in the fall, or it might have just been the timing of, the plant finally filled the pot in, and with the right soil pH and fertilizer, it finally has put some flowers out. And it looks like there's a lot more coming. As you can see, what happened was, so here is the leaf blade, and then there's little notches that go down the leaf blade, and this it budded right here where my pinky finger is, and it put a bud out, and it bloomed into this gorgeous flower, and it's actually been a week, and this flower is still blooming, and it's fragrant. It smells like a very light tuberose scent. This one right here that just bloomed recently is like 3 days. It's been 3 days, and it's still magnificent. There is a variety called the Queen of the Night that is very intensely fragrant. It blooms at night. It's a big event, for people when it blooms. This one is a relative because it's Epiphyllum, but it's a hybrid. So the fragrance is nice and wonderful. It's not powerful enough to reach you across the room, but when you're right next to it like I am, it puts out enough fragrance that you can enjoy it. As far as choosing the pot size, it does like to be pot bound, so I would recommend a 6 to an 8-inch pot. And when you're starting, a smaller pot's nice because it'll take less time for the plant to fill in. This took about 3 years to fill in this pot, and this is the first year that I'm actually getting blooms, so I'm super thrilled. If you can see right here, if this plant sticks to the regimen, there's a bud right there on the end, and it looks like there's multiple buds going down the leaf blade. So hopefully I will get a lot more blooms. But yeah, that's some advice and pointers on this plant. As far as toxicity, I haven't really heard much about it being toxic, so I think it's one of your less toxic plants from what I've read and researched online. But I've never really tried feeding this to anything. But yeah, it's a relatively safe plant, easy to take cuttings from. You can root it in water, or you can root it in perlite with rooting hormone. It's very easy to root. And yeah, a pretty awesome plant. I absolutely love this plant. If you have any more questions about it, please let me know. And yeah, this is Epiphyllum, also known as the Dutchman's pipe cactus, also known as the orchid cactus, and my name is Jason. Thanks again.